What's poppin', yo? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of the TMNT 2007 movie. We have taken a look at a lot of TMNT stuff on the channel lately, and I have done the first three movies as a film review, but that was the old style film review. But still, we do like TMNT here on the channel, so I am going to cover as much turtle content as I can, and being a turtle fan from when I was born, I've watched every piece of turtle media there is, so it's time for me to share my opinions, share my thoughts, and to remind you of some old nostalgic gems that you may have forgotten over the years. So let's head back to 2007, and how old was I? I was about 4 in 2007, but this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from that era, and they got one film. And it was a pretty decent film, actually. I really like this film. It is one of my favorite Turtle films, if I'm going to be honest. Looking back on it, it was very different from the Turtles that we've seen before. We've had the 2003 cartoon, and we've had the original cartoon, and we've had the original 3 movies up until this point. And now we have this one. And this got its own PS2 tie-in game, and I do understand why. The animation style is very plastic, very PS2 vibey. I don't know. It just reminds me of like the PS2, like a Crash Bandicoot cutscene or a Ratchet and Clank cutscene, if I'm being honest. It reminds me of like the old Ratchet and Clank animation from back in the day. And I don't know why. It just seems very clay, plasticky, cartoony. And I like the turtle designs in this one, although it does get very repetitive with all the turtles looking exactly the same with just different coloured bandanas. However, just because they look the same does not mean their personalities are the same. And this film does take place with Leo leaving the group and going to China or Japan to chase up a mystery. And it shows us how the other 3 turtles continue with Leo gone. And if I'm going to be honest, they don't do very well. Mikey dresses up as a turtle and is like a kid's party mascot. Donnie is a tech support helpline. And Raph is a vigilante. Splinter looks really cool, and I think he's the one that reminds me most of Ratchet and Clank. I don't know why. The turtles also look really shiny, greasy, and oily, and I don't know why, but I think it's a good choice. It's a very nice contrast to Splinter here, who is very furry, and you can see pretty much all of his detailing on his fur. I don't like April's design, but I do like Casey Jones's design, and I did have all the figures for this film. The design for the Foot Clan as well look really cool. They look pretty decent, I'm going to say. They look pretty accurate to the original, and so does Karai. But this film takes on a different approach to Shredder. He is immortal, pretty much. This Shredder has been alive for centuries. He unlocked a portal through a dimension which gave him infinite life, but turned his comrades to stone. He and his 5 comrades were pretty good warriors. I would give them the benefit of the good warrior, and took on armies, and they tried to become immortal together, but it was just him that became immortal, and the rest of his group turned to stone. So he eventually got the technology to open up the portal again, to bring the monsters back, to send them all home, to get that chance to put it all right. He wants to die because he's been alive for so long, but he revives his friends in the process, but obviously they've been turned to stone for so long that they want their chance to live and they don't want to die. And this is a once in a 1,000-year chance to die due to the planets aligning and making it right with the portal and the space beam and the sky beam. This was before the sky beam was overdone to hell, and Raph being a vigilante and going against Leo when Leo comes back saying that he doesn't need Leo, he can do it all on his own, and then Leo getting captured and it being Raph's fault. It just shows the contrast and really set up for the Turtles that sort of dynamic between the constant arguing between Leo and Raph. We see that argument, and we see them clashing a lot more after this film, and it really sets up how opposite their mindsets are. Leo's a leader. Leo wants to connect together. He wants to do stuff, and he wants to connect everyone together. Raph is a hothead. He wants to go in all guns blazing. He wants to do it all on his own. He thinks he's the bee's knees and he can do everything himself. And he doesn't need Leo to boss him around. He doesn't like being bossed around. And he gets that sort of comfort, and he has that person to talk to with Casey Jones in this film. Like, we have him arguing with Leo, and then he goes to Casey as like a friend to talk to him, to sort of put his mind at ease and tell him about all his worries. And Casey has that as well with Raph when he fights with April. This film is very focused around Raph and Leo, and I think most of the Turtle content is focused more around those two, with Donnie and Mikey taking more of a backseat, because they're more, like, flat characters. They're, like, one note of being the goofy one and the nerd. And then we have these two, Raph and Leo, who they go more in depth with their emotions and their feelings and how they act and bounce off each other. And that is quite upsetting because Mikey and Donnie are my favourites, but they always seem to take the back seat in all of this. They always seem to be like the B team, whereas Leo and Raph are like the A team and the sort of majority favourite of the Turtles, if I'm going to be honest with you. But the fight in the rain was such a good scene, and it gave me goosebumps. Like, I really enjoyed that scene. I loved that scene. I would rewind it and rewatch it. It was such a good scene in the film, with them two battling it out in the rain and having the sort of conflict that they have, arguing with each other. It wasn't really a discussion, but it was just their mindsets clashing and their opinions and thoughts going against each other and not working together as like brothers like they used to, because Leo left and they grew apart, and Raph sort of started to resent Leo because he left. Leo thought he was a big shot. Leo thought he could do this and that and the other, whereas he feels like he's been abandoned by his brothers. It has the Turtles coming back together and fighting these zombies and seeing these stone people and having Raph get attacked by them, but then Raph continues to be a vigilante on his own and going against Leo and Splinter's orders, and that in turn gets Leo captured, in people thinking that Leo is one of the monsters when he's not. So the machine won't fully work because they don't have the last monster. And that's where April and Casey come in to bring in the Turtle Van. It does a really good job at setting up the Turtles in this world, because each iteration of the Turtles is someone else's sort of design of them, how someone else envisions them, and I like that. Everyone complains about how each Turtles is different, and they always have like a different origin, or it's not massively different, it's slightly different. And they have different designs, and they have different sort of power sets, if I'm going to be honest, with the new ones, with Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being more mystical and magical. But I like how every iteration of the Turtles is slightly different, with each changing, bouncing off each other, taking stuff from past Turtle iterations and pushing it forward, because it makes every iteration of the Turtles different, and it makes it new, and it's like its own little Turtles multiverse, which they did actually explore within the 2012 animated series, and I do believe these made a cameo in that, and I really enjoyed that because I do like this iteration of the Turtles. Some of the animation in this does look pretty creepy and weird, I will be honest, given Mikey's smile here and when he sort of showed his muscles, it does look a little bit off, but again, it was 2007, animation and CGI was just coming into fruition, and you can give it a break. The Turtles' voice actors in this, I'm going to say was okay. The voice actors were no major cast. It was like a meh voice acting all around. I don't remember it being that exciting, that sort of emotional, until that scene in the rain. I keep going back to that scene in the rain because it comes from a really fast-paced action sequence with Raph being attacked in a kitchen. That was funny and snappy. And then it goes to more of a heartfelt action sequence between Leo and Raph, and Leo uncovering that Raph is the vigilante, because until that point he kept it a secret and no one knew. So him being found out in that moment also makes it super impactful, because he was trying to run away from Leo because he didn't want to hurt Leo, but Leo wasn't letting up. The design for the villains is really cool as well. I haven't seen these villains in Turtles, like, before this point or after this point. These seem to be, like, exclusive to this film and this iteration of the Shredder, which they tried to make a good guy, which I quite like. That's never really been done or explored before, or again after this point, really. They tried to make him more sympathetic and more of a hero, trying to sort of make up for his past mistakes, trying to die because he's been alive for so long. And we also get a load of subtle nods to past Turtles with some Easter eggs here and there, again with the old Turtles tune being the sort of horn to the van. We have some past villains' helmets in Splinter's dojo, and then, you know, some other classic Turtles stuff going on in the background. But we have the core things that make the Turtles Turtles. You have the family story with the conflict in the family, and then coming together as a team to be stronger and come together and work together as a team again after being separate for so long. And I really like that. It's a really nice message of family bonds and friendship bonds and how they can build, break, but ultimately you're still family, so you're going to come back together and work together. And it's always Raph that seems to be the one that saves his brothers. Because in the 2014 Turtles live-action movie, it was Raph that led the assault on Shredder to rescue his brothers from the milking machine. And again, in the 2007 film, which we're taking a look at now, it was Raph that sort of inspired the other Turtles to go rescue Leo. It's always Raph that seems to be like the one that takes charge after Leo's gone and take charge to be a hero. And I quite like that because it shows through his angry exterior, he's quite soft and he's a little cinnamon roll on the inside. And he's loving and he's sweet. And he actually does care about his brothers. And I like that. Here he is at the forefront. This is more of a Raph movie. This did circle a lot more around Raph and how he was the most affected by Leo leaving, whereas Donnie and Mikey just got a job and sort of continued their life and gave up on crime fighting, which is a real shame because it isolated Raph a lot more because, you know, he's the one that's always in fighting and always in action, and he likes that. But it feels like his brothers all abandoned him by going on with their lives and leaving him behind. It sort of feels like a Last Ronin story, but a lot nicer because they all come back together at the end and they don't all die one by one. But I do like the cheetah guy to the left here. He was like the hunter guy, the villains. And I think the villains' designs, they're all made of stone. They're not colourful, they're not bright, but they still look menacing with their red eyes and how they just walk and act with the hunchbacks and the sort of big armour that they have on. Honestly, it's a good film. I am only going to give it a 7 out of 10, though, even though all the props I gave it, because the CGI isn't that good. Not CGI, the animation isn't that good, but again, it was 2007, so I will give it the benefit of the doubt. The voice acting isn't excellent. There is a few off points, but the story's good, and it's a good iteration of the Turtles that I don't think gets enough love. When you see people making montages and drawings of the Turtles, it's always the 2014, 2012, and the original. We never really get the 2003 and the 2007 Turtles, which I think is a big shame because, again, being born in 2003, that's the Turtles I grew up with and I liked the most, if I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm advocating for those guys. Other than that, bye-bye.